I always say it's an amalgamation. Tezuka Osamu and Miyazaki Hayao together form a perfect Walt Disney.
Yes.
Because
Welcome back to another episode of Direct Edition, a podcast about nothing and everything. I'm Dave, and the year is coming to an end. So if you see this before, have a Happy New Year. And if you see this after, Happy New Year. So my last episode today features a guest, a friend of a couple of years, Shawn, aka Japan Book Hunter. For those of you that don't know who Shawn is and what Japan Book Hunter is, basically Shawn is somebody who does what I do with the YouTube channel and the selling of the books, but he is in Tokyo, Japan, where he has been for over 20 years. And I became friends with him after seeing him on Cartoonist Kayfabe. He was a friend of Ed Pisker's, and they spent a lot of time together in that last couple of manga quests that Ed did. And I saw him on the Kayfabe channel. I'm like, wow, this is somebody, the rare kind of person who does exactly what I do, just somewhere else. And I was already starting to get interested in the world of manga. So I reached out to him and I had him on the West Coast Avengers channel. And then obviously in the last calendar year, I've been to Japan twice and hung out with him most of the time, whether he liked it or not. But Shawn's business model and love of comics, manga, is pretty impressive. And like I said, it mirrors mine. So I thought it would be fun on the last night that I was in Japan to do an interview with him, which is my first ever in-person interview. Not something that I'm used to, but I could get used to it, because I find that my chemistry with people is just as good in person, if not better, obviously. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a background of him in his own words, and also just before the interview started. You can check him out on Japan Book Hunter on YouTube, on Instagram, and visit his website, japanbookhunter.com, to buy all of his weird, rare, and awesome manga. Now that you know a little bit about him, why don't we get to the interview with Shawn, aka Japan Book Hunter? All right. Welcome back to Direct Edition, a podcast about nothing and everything. I am your host, Dave, and today is the first time that I'm ever recording a podcast for Direct Edition with my interview subject, and that is Shawn, aka Japan Book Hunter.
Japan Book Hunter, my friend.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Are these our fine friends? Are they watching us?
Hey, my fine friends. I'm sure a lot of your friends or my friends
Yes.
are your friends.
Yes.
So we're all friends here.
There are some people that watch this podcast that may not subscribe to Dave Enders, so they might be, new to you. So why don't I just let everybody know? I met Shawn virtually, about 2 years ago. I think I interviewed the end of 2023.
Yep. It was about 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to know more about manga, and here we are. It's the end of 2025, and I've spent more time in Japan in the last year than I have anywhere else but my home.
Yeah. You said you traveled a little bit. But
Yes.
This time, 1 month. Last time, 3 weeks. So
It's crazy.
yeah, you're stacking weeks, my friend.
I know, and I love it here. So, for everybody watching and listening, tell everybody how long you've been living in Japan. You grew up in Washington, but tell them a little bit about your move to Japan.
Yeah, I'm originally from Washington State, Seattle, Spokane, Seattle type thing, but I've been here in Tokyo for 23, going on 24 years now. And previously to that, I'd been traveling out here back and forth 5, 6, 7, I can't count,
Right.
7 times. So by the time that I moved out here as a university student, 5th year
Wow.
university student, because who wants to go into the job market?
Nah.
Nobody wants a real job.
No.
Then I came out here for a year and I never left.
All right, and even going further back, because we're in your shop / your office in Koenji in Tokyo. What was the first manga that you ever were exposed to, or was it anime first?
Well, in America, it was anime first because I couldn't speak the language, you know. And, you know, you go to Blockbuster, you dig out whatever Japanese stuff that you can find.
Yeah.
And just kind of, one day you might get something rad like Wicked City. The next day you might get La Blue Girl. You never know. You never know what you're going to get. And then you might get Ranma 1/2, you know.
Right.
It's like, and then a Ghibli film, and just kind of digging through everything. I watched a lot of videotapes that friends' parents would send them of Japanese friends. Their parents would send them just hours and hours of recordings of Japanese TV. So, like, you're watching commercials, you're watching variety shows, you're watching talk show, you're watching everything, dramas. And, but when I came out here, as far as manga goes, God, you know, like, I started off with kind of simple stuff. Like Doraemon, Sazai-san, like the really like stuff for kids.
Yeah.
Kid-friendly stuff. And I read a ton of children's pictures books. When I was in college, my Japanese was pretty good, but there's like a lot of gaps in my Japanese. And to learn the onomatopoeias, you know, in Japanese we call gyongo and gitaigo, words of sound and words of motion. And to get those, you really need to read children's picture books.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, because they all have the pata pata and the zaza, you know, like people running, the sound of rain, you know, like these, there's so many of them in the Japanese language, and Japanese picture books were big. Then when my Japanese got better, then it was on to the vagabonds and the city hunters and the gunsmith cats and stuff like that.
Oh, right. Gunsmith Cats is one of those things that was in... Yeah, I'd seen it when I was young because it was Dark Horse, or maybe it was Viz. Somebody published it.
I remember when I was in college, on my birthday, one of my classmates gave me volume 1 of Gunsmith Cats. And I remember opening it up and being like, man, I don't got the energy to read this, because it's not easy. I mean, it's just like there's a lot of technical terms in it and stuff. And then I remember seeing it on my shelf some years later, grabbing it off and being like, oh, I can totally read this, you know?
It was like a whole new magic door unlocked in your head. Speaking of, like, you know, in an average, to get a real grasp of Japanese, how long do you think it really took you?
Oh, it's hard to say. I mean, everyone's path is different. It depends. And nowadays, kids, crazy. They learn so fast. They learn so fast because you have all the apps. You have the flashcard apps like Anki, and you have the what's the big app that everyone uses?
Duolingo.
Yeah, Duolingo for like the daily conversational, and then you can talk to Chat GPT. And just chat with Chat GPT in Japanese, and it'll correct your Japanese for you. Like, there's so much stuff that you can do now. But for me, I'd studied 3-4 years in America, and then a year here in university. And even then, it's like I couldn't work in an office. You know, I couldn't do like business contracts or something like that. You think you can until you try. And then you're like, oh, wait a second. You know, like it's difficult. So I think before I really grasped the language in a way where I could like sit down and read, I was probably here about 5 to 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 to 6 years.
I could see, I mean, you immersed yourself. That's one, you know, obviously a key way to do it. And I mean, reading as much as you were reading also probably.
Well, and conversational comes pretty quick. You just, you know, go hang out at standing bars and go hang out, be social.
Yeah.
Be social, whatever it is. And join clubs. I joined a bunch of clubs in college, you know, photography club, film club, this and that, you know, just to mix it up with people. And so conversational comes quickly, but the reading and writing, if you don't start learning until you're like older, you know, like a teen, then, or like late teen, then it's tough.
Yeah. And then you worked in professional settings. So that, you know, do you think that if you went from coming here, maybe working like whatever shitty job and doing that stuff, but then you got into the book collecting and selling very quickly, do you think you would have needed the writing as much?
Yes and no. I mean, the writing leads to the memorization and the understanding of the reading. And the reading, if you're not reading it constantly, like escapes you. So there's things like environmental problems, kankyo mondai. Like, I remember that because you hear like global warming and like the weather report. You hear these words like in everyday life, but something like mathematics or chemistry, like if you're not on top of that, you're gonna lose those words so quick.
You're right,
Yeah.
because I don't remember half the fucking chemistry words in
I
English.
know, in English, right? You know,
So-
like the quadratic equation
Equation.
and stuff. Yeah, recite it to me now, sir.
I gotta go.
Negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
You know what? I think it's over. I think we just ended the podcast because I just got outsmarted in fucking science. So, for a lot of us Americans, there is this seminal work that we talk about a lot by a seminal cartoonist and animator. When did you first see or read Akira?
Well, Akira, I saw the anime first.
Yes.
Like most of us Americans, or Westerners.
Yeah.
Like we saw Akira, the anime first, blown away. And then you start hearing like about the frames per second, the 327 colors, and like all these like little fun facts about it, and
Yeah.
how long it took to make, and how many, and then you just get mesmerized. Unfortunately, where I lived, we didn't have many. It was hard to get the comics.
Yeah.
The floppies.
Yeah.
In English, right?
Yeah, those epic ones were tough.
Yeah, and I was kind of in a comic desert, we could say, at
Yes.
that time. In junior high school, at that time, I was in Spokane, Washington. We had a couple of comic book shops, but it was like there wasn't a big community, so there wasn't a lot of comics moving around. And then it wasn't until later on, I want to say when I was in university, we had what do you call it? A commons area
Okay.
at the dormitory, and there was a set of Akira in the commons area, and I would sit in there and I'd try to read it, but I would struggle. But I would try to read it, and I was also studying at uni and homework, all this stuff. But anyways, and then I realized, like, what the hell? This isn't anything like the anime at all.
Right.
Yeah, and it blew
There's
my
just
mind
a
on
point where it becomes completely different.
Yeah, and you're like reading it. You're like, who's this character? Who's this? Wait, I thought the clown was the bad guy. And you start getting all confused and stuff. And then of course, I've reread Akira. I actually this year in summertime I reread it. Every time I went to the bathhouse with my kids, I would pick up a volume because they always have it at a bathhouse and
right.
many ramen shops too. And I would just read a few chapters of it every time we went and crush the. And I got that red box set
Yes.
they released in America.
Yes, it's
And I
amazing.
reread it in English, and then to be able to compare them and stuff, it was amazing.
It is. I will say this to anybody that's never been to Japan now that I'm a veteran. The book is, the closest thing I could think to it, like if you were to give it a comic equivalent to something, if you were to give it an equivalent to something in America, it's like the Bible. Because every store, no matter what store you go to, you can buy a copy of Akira. You go to Village Vanguard and they have the sets.
Yep.
You go to the Kabinis, they have sets in the
Yep.
or the regular bookstores. I've never seen anything like it. Just on that book alone, it'd be like if you went to Target and every Target in America had Invincible or The Walking Dead, which they might have The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's a stretch to say that it would be everywhere, whereas Akira truly is everywhere.
Truly is everywhere. And I don't remember off the top of my head, but that 6-volume, like the colored Japanese traditional tankobon, oversized large tankobon set, they must have reprinted that 87 times or something like that.
I'm sure.
So.
And Miyazaki's the same way. What was your first exposure to Miyazaki? Do you remember?
God, what was I don't remember exactly what my first was, but I do remember, of course, when I was younger in Nausicaa and some of the older stuff I would watch. But the first time I came to Japan in 1997 was the release of Princess Mononoke.
Yes.
And I saw that in the movie theater here. And it was difficult to understand because, as you know, if you're in Japan, there's no English subtitles on Japanese movies.
Nope.
So I was struggling to understand it, but visually, you can kind of grasp a lot of the story because it's a much simpler story than Spirited Away. And going with a Japanese friend of mine, and I remember having a beer in the movie theater, sitting next to like a little kid because it was a packed theater, and thinking it was so weird. It was a draft beer in a cup at a movie theater, sitting next to a kid at what I thought was kind of a kid's movie, but then later realized that Miyazaki is an everybody's movie.
Right. It is. He's the Walt Disney. He is Walt Disney. That, he's better.
I always say it's amalgamation. Tezuka Osamu and Miyazaki Hayao together form a perfect Walt Disney.
Yes.
Because you have the anime side, and then you have the stylistic side of the of the Tezuka.
Yes.
That took a lot of his inspiration from Disney. Mm-hmm. And if you just crush them together, you would have Walt Disney. Maybe and also the chain smoking. I think.
Yeah. And maybe I don't know enough about Tezuka's life, but he didn't seem like a racist guy.
No. But Miyazaki was a heavy chain smoker. They just don't Photoshop it out of his pictures the way they did to Disney.
That is very true. That is very true. And Tezuka, it's kind of nuts to think that somebody that's as not even just popular, a historic figure in a country, he's not really a name that gets talked about in America, where Miyazaki does, and obviously Otomo does. But I mean, he's probably the most. I mean, is it a stretch to say that Tezuka is the most famous person in the last 100 years in this country?
I would say in manga. So I believe there's only 3 people that have been given, I forget the name of the award, the National Literary and Arts Award of Japan.
Yeah.
The big award. There's only been 3 manga artists to receive it, and it was Tezuka, Mizuki Shigeru, and then Tsuge Yoshiharu.
Okay.
Who was a big Gekiga, like more realistic manga from the Garo era.
Okay.
And stuff like that. But I think those are the only 3 guys that were ever recognized.
Wow.
And Miyazaki in the anime realm, maybe. I'm not sure.
Sure.
But then mostly it's like authors like Murakami Haruki or, some like famous author.
Yes.
That gets recognized.
And Murakami is one of those, he's a name that you go into any bookstore in America and his books are everywhere.
And people know.
Yes.
People know him, right?
Yes.
Very slice of life. I mean, he kind of writes his novels almost like how those slice of life mangaka write manga. It's just like a little glimpse into that era or whatever
he feels like writing about.
Yeah, it's great.
So, I think about my journey through American comics, and obviously grew up reading the superhero stuff. But at one point, a friend of mine handed me Watchmen and Sin City and Sandman and the good stuff. When did you kind of find your path into getting into the things that you're heavily into now? Indie, the Ero Guro, the horror, like you branched off.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So at some point I was reading a lot of mainstream manga and I was enjoying it. But then I started, there's kind of two phases. One was I started really getting into horror manga. So I was reading all the Hino Hideshi, the Umes, Uniki Kaneko, like anyone I could find, the Hibari Hits comics, the Hibari era, like anything from the 60s, 70s, 80s. Yeah, I got shelves of it here.
Yeah.
And I started collecting it really hard and just voraciously reading it. And, I'm a completest like you.
Yes.
Once you start getting into it, you want to read it all. You want it all.
You need to digest it all and you need to have it all.
Yeah, and you want to if you read one, you want to read all 7 if there's 7, So like I was voraciously reading that, and I was at the same time I was really dodging Garo stuff.
Okay.
Because Garo is like Garo's really encapsulates like Gekiga, underground comics, subculture, artsy Japan from the late 60s through the 70s and into the 80s. That was Garo. But I always felt like a Garo collector is a serious Garo collector. And then I became a Garo collector and became a serious It's one of those things because there's so many contributors. I mean, there's I think that big Wooden Mortar Kingdom 20th anniversary book that's like 1,200 pages, I think there's something like 100 contributors to it.
Jeez.
And that's not everyone. That's just like the big names, you know what I mean? So you get into, and then once you get into that, then you're branching out.
Yeah.
You're like, Tsuge Yoshiharu, he's got a brother named Tado. Well, now I got to read him. Mizuki, he had an apprentice. I got to read him, an assistant. And then it turns into a whole thing, and you start going down the rabbit hole.
I mean, that's kind of the beauty of it. I mean, I feel like maybe we can draw parallels because Garo starts in the early 60s, right?
Mid-60s, 65.
So you could draw the parallel between like Garo and then the underground stuff in San Francisco with Crumb and Spain Rodriguez and all those guys. Like you pick up any issue of Zap and you're getting a couple of cartoonists. Crumb is going to be a main focus, but then you're going to explore the rest of these guys.
The rest of the stuff. And that was a big part of my youth was Last Gasp and the NoCal, like, comic book scene in
Right.
Seattle, of course, Fantagraphics out of Seattle and stuff. And so we did have access to a lot of the underground stuff. It was just I didn't have access to the Japanese stuff. You know?
Sure.
But exactly, it's like once you start getting into it, then you start going adjacent, and then all of a sudden you have all of this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so. What year did you really start to kind of collect? Do you remember?
I went through phases, but I think I was really collecting here in Japan about 15 years ago. And then I went through phases where I'd stopped collecting for a while. And, like family and life and work and stuff catches up with you. And then in the last 8 years, I've really been collecting.
I mean,
hard,
that whole room is your collection.
Yeah. The whole room over here is pretty insane. And I got some stuff at home, and then I have everything that I sell, and I don't sell anything that I don't really know about.
Sure.
Because if I don't know about it, then why would I have it or sell it or know how to price it or like anything, So like I try to stick to my wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's some stuff in here that's not really my personal liking or taste.
Yeah.
But I know something about it.
And you get to know your customers and you know what they might like.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm here. I'm kind of for the masses.
Yeah.
Not just like the hardcore, like underground collector or the rich guy.
Right.
I want to have a little bit of stuff for everyone.
Well, we model our businesses in exactly the same way. Like there's shit I don't really like, or it's not my steez, but people want it, so I want to provide it for them, and I want it to be for, I got the big books for the people that want to spend the money on that, and I've got the $5 books for the people that, just want to get a stack of books.
Yeah, and that's the way to really do it, because I don't know. I mean, like, it's not like I'm placating to everyone, or I'm trying to be like a pleaser and please everyone.
Yeah.
I only want to sell stuff that I think is cool.
Right.
If it looks cool, I'll buy it and I'll offer it out to people and stuff. But there's also stuff that I like. When I was young, I didn't know anything about. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything about like Ultraman, Kamen Rider, Spectre Man, Magma, like all of these like characters that like I just kind of didn't grow up with.
Yeah.
And over the years of being here, just being in the vicinity of them. I mean, the pachinko machines, the billboard, the exhibitions, the bookstores, the figures everywhere. Then you start to learn about it. And then when I started actually selling books, I really got down into like learning about all the kaiju and all these dissection books from 1972 are really cool. And,
so cool.
Like, so it's like, but it's a constant learning process.
Yes. And I think that, it shows that you keep learning, because there's stuff that wasn't here last year that's here this year. And I've watched every single one of your videos, and your back catalog I've watched more than once.
Thank you.
It's a great, you provide, whether you intend to completely provide it, you provide a service to people, because even people in Japan don't know half as much as you do, and so people in the States, there's probably people that have areas of expertise that you don't have. Mm-hmm. But you look around in this room, you look around on your website, and you watch these YouTube videos, it's like you can tell that you're learning on the go too.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of learning involved. There's a lot of research involved. Like, if I'm going to do a video on someone, then I'm not just going to read their English Wikipedia page.
Right.
If they even have one. Because the kind of stuff that I do, I'm going to read the Japanese page. I'm going to read Japanese blogs. I'm going to look in the back of books, read interviews in the back of the books, of their books that I have, and just try to dissect as much as I can. And then that's how you learn about all the adjacent assistants and all the other publishers that they work for. And then that's when the rabbit hole really gets deep, you know?
That is something that I'm constantly aware of every time I open up one of these books that I even can't read, but you finish reading it, or you finish looking through the art and the story, and then all of a sudden there's 5 pages of text, and I'm like, what is this? Oh, it's an interview with the creator, or it's an about the creator. They don't do that in America. They do that in novels sometimes, but it's, it's 2 paragraphs.
Yeah, the afterword or the epilogue or whatever they decide to call it. And Japan loves a dissection magazine, which is like where they just like the all about Miyazaki, or all about one aspect, like Spirited Away, or all about Ultra 7 or whatever it is. I mean, there's probably like 100 all about Ultra 7 books, you know? But they love these kinds of books because really, like, if you're really into it, you want to know everything, you know? You want to know who created it, who did the character design, who worked on it,
Right.
who made the rubber suits. You want to know it all, you know? So there's no lack of information out here.
Sure. You just have to be able to read it.
Just have to be able to read it, my friend. Yeah.
What are the things that I constantly talk about after coming here last year, and I'll be talking about it probably for the next 8 to 10 months, is the amount of art that is just around Japan. Whether it is manga art, whether it is illustration, whether it is painting, graffiti, figures. Obviously, been here a long time. Is it something that you noticed right away comparatively to Spokane, Seattle? And Seattle used to be a real art mecca, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was going to sound a little bit weird, but I remember seeing in my like first time out here, and I remember seeing a salary man commuting to work in his suit, and he had his briefcase, and he had a cute little strap hanging from his briefcase.
Yeah.
This is in the late 90s, right? And I remember thinking like, that is so like, it's so not like our culture.
Yeah, it's a contrast.
Yeah, it's such a it's not manly or what, I don't know what I was thinking. It's not like proper businessman.
Right.
He's got like a little pink Kirby hanging off or something hanging off his bag, you know? And I remember thinking that was so weird. But then, you know, then you look around and you're like, oh wait, no, everyone does that.
Yeah.
You know, not everyone obviously, but
most.
Yeah, most, right? You know? And it's not a weird. The weird thing was probably me staring at it thinking it was weird.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like I think the mascot culture, the graphic design culture, the sign culture.
Yes.
You know, just like the neon signs and the street signs and the like characters for everything.
Yeah.
Although it is a little bit disconcerting when you see a chicken eating chicken or a pig eating pork on a restaurant.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. But you walk by the parks, and the parks have signs that are animated. You weren't with us. It was me, Jim, and Dave. We were going from a coffee shop to somewhere in Shibuya, and there was like a "Don't feed the pigeons" thing.
Oh, yeah.
But the pigeon was like doing the nose
Yeah,
sign.
dude, like, no,
yeah, and it's like the
no.
pigeon saying "Don't feed me" instead of the sign just saying "Don't feed the pigeons."
Yeah.
Pigeon's like "Don't," and I'm like, it just makes me. There is a piece of it that I think probably affects everybody subconsciously. It definitely affected me, and I knew it. Everything felt better walking around, seeing so much art, and like you said, the signs. I mean, just the characters and everything. There's something that it does to your brain where it's like, this is supposed to be how it is.
I think it's a little bit more friendly.
Yes.
Than just like do not enter.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
do not enter or danger, cars or something like that, you know? Instead they have like a car with a face on it, with a kid running across the road with
Yeah.
a worried expression and like, you know, like you're like, "Oh, I don't want to be that kid."
No.
like-
I walked past a playground in Osaka. I think it was a playground, maybe a school. And I'll just describe it. I'll put it on the screen, post, you know, I'll edit it in. There's a sign with a purple heart that looked mean. His tongue was coming out of his mouth and was broken. The hand was on the ground, I think holding flowers, and it was a girl punching the tongue in half. And I was like, is this like Don't Talk to Strangers type? Like, I couldn't.
It could be a don't talk to strangers type thing, or it could be a don't bully.
Yeah.
Like no bullying, or yeah.
It's just, but it did something to me. It stopped me in my fucking tracks.
And you're like, what the hell is this? I know. This is, or like you'll be walking and look down and there'll be like the no smoking signs on the pavement,
Yes.
on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And it's like a picture of a man smoking, burning a child in the face. And you're like, oh, I don't want to do that.
I
Like,
don't want to be that
I don't
guy.
want to do that.
No,
Yeah.
it is incredible. It really is. And then you get into the aspects of just daily life of going to the Konbini, going to 7-Eleven, and you can not just buy manga in weekly form. You can buy it in tankobons,
Yep.
and you can buy paper to create your own manga.
Yep, you
At a
can.
7-Eleven.
And you can buy Bikurimen, like snacks with little stickers in them. You can buy the Boss coffee with Dragon like whatever character is.
Yes.
What's the Dragon right now is Dragon Quest.
Right.
Dragon Quest, and you can collect them all. And yeah,
It's nuts.
yeah, it's just like there is like a big. It's not just a collecting culture, but it's just like a appreciation for the art that the stuff that you're into.
Yeah. Do you think it's also, Japan, from at least American eyes, seems like a place where everybody works a little bit too much, a little bit too hard. Do you think that availability in the manga culture and just the cartoonish culture is a little bit of that, like, let's alleviate our day with some fun?
Yeah, and I mean, this brings up a bunch of topics, but I always bring up the weekend warrior cosplayers.
Yes.
Like, you might be a secretary, you might be a nurse, you might be a doctor, you might be a policeman. It doesn't matter. But if you are into cosplay and on the weekend you like to go dress up and hang out with your friends and do whatever cosplay it is, it could be video game, it could be anime, whatever it is, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. No one's going to judge you. There's no fear of losing your job.
Wow.
There's no you're not going to not get that promotion because you went out dressed as like
Goku.
Whatever. Yeah, Goku or Pochita from Chainsaw Man or something like that. You know, you like to get cute on the weekend. That's okay.
Yeah.
And I think it's that same mentality with everything. So you like video games, you go game. So you like Dance Revolution, you go dance. Like whatever it is, you like bowling, you go bowl. And people are just like, yeah, we worked really hard all week. You know, go do your thing. You know, and then on Monday morning, you're back to the grind.
And I guess that also explains the, like the whole bathhouse culture here too. It's like you're relaxing. Who gives a shit that you're around a bunch of naked people? But for Americans, I'm just like, I told you, my dad used to take me to the YMCA or whatever when I was a kid, and I'm like, I don't want to take a shower with a bunch of old naked dudes.
Yeah,
I'm 7.
Even when I was I got to be honest, when I was in like junior high, like I hated taking a shower, and the gym teacher would like stand there, make sure all the kids take a shower. But after coming to Japan, and living here, it's just become such a. I mean. Almost every weekend I go to the bathhouse. I actually live on a street called Sentodori, which means bathhouse road.
Oh, that's amazing.
Because there's 2 bathhouses like right across the street from my house in like kitty corner,
That's right.
each direction. And kids love going, friends love going, and you go there, take a bath, get out, read some manga, have a drink, a Coca-Cola or a beer or a snack or something like that, relax, and then
get back to it.
Get back to it, man. Yeah.
And that's, I think that's a programming thing, here. It's not a thing to be sexualizing being around people in that, in that way. And in the States, it's like, somebody's going to make it sexualized in one way or another, in a negative way or a negative way.
Yeah. And there's for example, in schools, in elementary schools, like the kids will change together to get ready to go to recess or something, just like anywhere else, and eat together.
Yeah.
Eat lunch together in the classroom, not in a giant cafeteria, but in the classroom.
Sure.
With their 40 other students, So there's a lot of close proximity.
Yes.
Of like doing things together. So like, sitting right next to like 4 other people eating or taking a bath with them, it's not much different.
Right. Yeah, and it's just, it's cultural weird differences, and when I say weird, it's the American side that's weird. But that, it has been an eye-opening experience in the best way possible for me, being here for a full month, 3 weeks here, then doing Osaka and Kyoto myself, and like I said, people were staring at me, but it didn't make me feel uncomfortable. I realize that I'm the foreigner, and I cannot ever be offended at somebody else for looking at me because I'm the foreigner.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how humans work.
And it's changed. It's changed a number of times here, depending on different waves of tourism, where you're living, like, are you in a tourist heavy area? Are you in a local area?
Yeah.
If you're in a local area, then you might get like a lot of stares just because you're the only. I've lived in numerous neighborhoods in Tokyo where I was like the guy.
Yeah.
I was just the guy in the neighborhood, or there's a couple others, and then you walk past each other and you're like, oh, hey, guy. Yeah, you're one of me. You know what I mean? I don't know where you're from, but you're
We're the
Hey,
same.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's changed a lot, but at the current state with so many 38 million tourists last year, they're going to break 40 this year.
Yeah.
It's a lot of tourists, so it's hard not to get a look of some kind.
And I understand that. I mean, the U.S. probably gets, let's be generous, 5 times that every year. Yeah. But the U.S. is also 150 times bigger than, Japan. So it doesn't matter. Like if if people go to Disneyland, would probably fill up the entire country if you put them all next to each other in Japan.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean it's like Japan's like the size of California.
Yeah, it's
whatever
tiny.
It is. It's not big.
But honestly, I mean, I know the kind of person and how the places I visit and the kind of places I enjoy being in, and I've had nothing but pleasant interactions with people, like coffee shops. Top place. I've recorded a podcast for the Patreon about this. Just talked about how all of my experiences here in coffee shops have been some of the best interactions with people, because it's a place you go, much like a library. It's a place you go to kind of wind down.
Yeah.
And take a moment and sit there and just do a thing and be there. And I've talked to a lot of people, and it's just been, and then obviously the manga shops.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if you're going anywhere like very specific, so you're a coffee snob.
Yes.
So the coffee shops you're going to are very specific kinds of places for coffee snobs.
Yes, they are.
So the other coffee snobs there are very accepting of you because they know you're one of them,
Yes.
And likewise, when you go to a manga shop, like I know that you were over at a manga shop that I know over in the Jimbocho area, and they're very friendly and they're very helpful because they know what you do.
Yes.
They know what I do. They know me. They know you now.
Yes.
And they're helpful and kind and nice, Yeah,
because I think it's something that the comic book stores in the U.S. and, the bookstores here do share in common. I think everybody that owns them recognizes they are a dying breed, unfortunately, right? Maybe not as much here as in the States, but they recognize like, oh, this person's coming in and buying stuff and being gentle with the books and taking care of things. Like, yeah, this is somebody we want to come back.
Yeah, and I've thought about this a lot, about like, will this all disappear?
Yeah.
All of this disappear because everything's digital. When I first came, I hate to be that guy that's like, when I first came here, because I'm not trying to say that. But a fact of the matter is when I was a college student, you get on the train, everyone was reading.
Yeah.
Everyone was reading. Or maybe somebody had a flip phone and they were playing Dig Dug or Tetris.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the worm game.
Yeah, the worm
whatever.
game or something like that. And but now you get on the train and there might be one person in your car reading.
Yeah.
Might.
Yeah.
And it's usually me or some old dude. Other old dude, Slightly older dude.
Yes.
Let's say that. So there's something happening. There's definitely something happening, so it just makes it like that much more important to me as my personal mission to try to archive as much of this stuff as I can, because these old books from the 60s and 70s and early 80s that are long forgotten aren't going to be around forever, and young people do not care about them, my friend.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to get reprints. They're not going to get revived. They're not going to be made into an anime or a Netflix series. They're gone.
Yeah.
And when we let them go, that's all there is.
That is definitely something here that is more of a concern. I can understand that because, at least in America, I mean, with the Golden Age stuff, the stuff that came out in the 40s and 50s, it got popular again with the collectors, which, also when the collectors, kind of start looking at stuff that isn't normally looked at, the publishers say, oh, maybe we should collect this. Maybe we should reprint it. The stuff that's able to be reprinted.
Make some sort of a grand design or some sort of like compilation
or an omnibus.
Something.
Yeah, Fantagraphics did that with all the EC books. All the pre-code horror.
Oh, yeah, I grabbed some of those when I was in LA a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Those are great.
They are. And the thing is here, space doesn't exist. You're lucky if you can have 4 bookshelves in your house, if you can. So, we've talked about it before, and you're always vocal about how a lot of this stuff got recycled, pulped, thrown out, etc.
Yep.
So yeah, it makes sense that like once it's gone, and you're not published. You know, some of the stuff we're looking at, you know, if you're looking at this stuff over here, I'm sure it wasn't published in big numbers.
Yeah, not a lot of it's not published in big numbers, and a lot of it, like you said, the manga magazines trashed. A lot of them thrown away after they're read, or left in trains, or left in parks on a park bench, you know,
Yeah.
just to dissolve, you know, because of the whole space thing here. And while among Japanese, there's a huge collecting community.
Sure.
There's a bigger community of people that kind of like they don't flip. Is what they do is they buy, collect, sell for space. So they need the space so that they can buy new stuff and replace it, you know? So then it goes back out and it gets recycled into the market of people like me buying and reselling, and reselling, right? But a lot of stuff gets pulped, man.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff just disappears forever. And yeah, like some like action manga from 1978 that they did one run of in Tankobon, and it was probably just ran in a magazine for a year, but it's awesome, you know, like it's never going to see the light of day again.
Unless somebody decides and has the whole thing, scans it, maybe, you know, produces their own, you know, free version or something like that.
There are a lot of scanlators here.
Yeah.
I do see, because if you're buying anything online, you do see like, what do I want to say, disassembled books, broken down books that had obviously been broken down
scan
for
the pages.
Yeah, somebody scanned them. And then there's scanlators in the States and Europe doing it into various languages. And I know some of those people too. And like, it's a little sad because a book died, but it's also kind of rad because they're finding stuff that the world would not see if they didn't find it.
Yeah.
You know?
You sacrifice for the greater good to share it with people, which is kind of like the opposite of what you imagine, you know, like what collectors kind of are. They want everything for themselves, but people that do that, break down the books to scan the pages high res and share them with people, is kind of the opposite of that.
And they're spending their own money and their own time, and sometimes translating them on their own, and spending hours and hours and hours. And I've broken down a book before. It sucks, dude. That old glue up in your nose, and you have a heat gun,
That's
and you're
right.
trying to. It's gross. It's a gross process, and then you're scanning each page, and it takes just so much time, and then you have to label each page, what page it is. You know, there's like so much to it behind the scenes, and it is an arduous process. So more power to them. But me myself, I'd rather just find rad books, and get them into people's hands that appreciate them.
And it is very appreciated. It's funny, one of the things that I've been trying to track down, and I had this conversation with Aki, and I've had this conversation with you, is the Moon Knight manga that they did in 79 and 80. It was I think 12 issues in Telebikun.
Yeah.
It's so rare. There is no complete scan of all of the story pages out there.
Very hard to find.
Yeah.
Moon Knight. I mean, there's certain things here that people have seen because of the internet and social media and everything, and they're like, "Oh, that must be." And I literally get emails every week about, "Hey, can you find me the Jaws manga? Can you find me the Hellraiser manga?" I'm like, "No, can you?" For me? I mean, like, I've never seen these in person in my life, you know, only online, you know, and in pictures and stuff. But once in a while, there is stuff that I do run across that's super, like, ultra rare, but again, you have to, I mean, I'm handling thousands of books a year, you know, and among those thousands of books, maybe a few of them are that level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's interesting because, you know, obviously the Jaws one is top of my list. It's my favorite movie of all time. I didn't know it existed until 2 years ago. But, you know, I've run into the wall as many times as I can trying to find that book while I'm here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably safe to say, because that was I think it was a monthly, right? It was a Shonen monthly.
I think it was a monthly, yeah. I think so.
Probably safe to say that without any knowing 100%, there's probably less than 500 copies in the world
remaining, because I mean, it's really hard.
50 years old.
Yeah, it's 50 years old, and you know, people tended to throw out manga magazines before they throw out a tankobon. Tankobons usually get resold, but even back then, a lot of like the secondhand stores, they wouldn't even take a magazine.
Yeah,
They
that
didn't
makes
want a
sense.
magazine because it takes up too much space. They'll take a Tonkobone, but they don't want to take a magazine. I mean, like, but yeah, it's hard to say how many
Yeah.
are out there, you know.
Well, you know what was interesting to me? Just we'll stay on this book for a minute. You know, to me, and I think any American, everybody knows when you say Jaws, they know exactly what you're talking about. And I asked the guy in that store in Osaka.
Oh yeah.
And,
Tanaka-san.
and it did not ring the bell right away to him. When I showed him the picture and I said Jaws, it did not ring that bell. I'm like, oh, maybe that movie isn't popular around the world. It's one of the most popular movies of all time in the
Yeah.
States. But I think of like, you can say Star Wars pretty much anywhere in this world and people know exactly
People
what
know.
you mean.
Yeah.
But Jaws, it might be obscure. And I was like, oh man, I underestimated this movie in other countries. I've never thought about it. I just, and then, yeah, if I ask somebody about the Hellraiser, they're going to be like, what?
So Hellraiser's a tough one because it was a bit underground.
Right.
It wasn't popular as a manga, and as a movie, it was semi-popular.
Sure.
I mean, the big one is Exorcist.
Yes.
If it wasn't for Exorcist. Yeah. If it wasn't for The Exorcist, Japan would not have had the 70s horror boom.
Really?
I mean, that spawned the whole horror boom. It came out here in 74. Came out in the States in 73 because everything lags behind about
Yes.
6 months to a year because the translation, they have to send film back and forth internationally, all this stuff to get
Dubbing,
the dubbing, all that stuff. But after that, then that spawned a whole wave of like late 70s horror manga, horror films, a love for foreign horror, whether it was Italian or it was American. And you got people like young Otomo seeing The Exorcist and thinking in his head, I want to make something like this, but sci-fi, and he made Domu. Based off of The Exorcist.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he was so impressed by it, and it took him years to do it.
Sure.
But eventually he made his sci-fi horror because of The Exorcist.
I did not know that. I mean, that movie predates my life by, several years. I was born in 79 and I didn't realize it had that effect. I knew it had a huge effect on society in general because it was probably the scariest thing that anybody had ever seen in the theater at that time.
Yeah, and I think for the Japanese viewer, they realized, oh, we have stories like this because Japanese, like the Kwaidan, the horror stories,
Yeah.
the yokai monsters. There's like a whole tradition of it. And then the film directors were like, "Hey, wait a second, we can do this because it's not a big budget film.
No, not
most
at
of it's
all.
shot in one room.
Yes.
You know what I mean. So like, then the Japanese directors are like, "Oh, wait, we can do this too." And then you had like a nice 70s, 80s horror boom, and then it cools off a little bit.
Sure.
Picks up in the 80s again, and then by the early 90s, you have Ring, Grudge, all of the Tomie.
Which spawns the U.S. to do versions of those. It was a push and pull on both fronts. We inspired them, they inspired us. We inspired them, they inspire us.
And all along the way, manga was right on the tails.
Yeah.
Whenever film or popular culture went in a direction, the manga followed. So it doesn't matter if it's slice of life, if it's horror, if it's sci-fi. Like after Star Wars, everyone was making space manga.
Yeah.
There's space operas everywhere.
Yeah. Does Yamato come after? Yamato comes after Star Wars, right? Or is that before?
No, it's around. Star Blazer. Oh God, I should know this. Which one came first? But no, I think Star Blazers was around already.
Okay.
But which is, and you have like Galaxy 999 around already, but it's all around that same kind of mid to late 70s era.
Yeah.
Where it was like really booming.
Yes, and I'm sure Kubrick had a huge hand in that with 2001.
Oh yeah, 2001. I knew. I didn't think
that's a big one, and I see stuff of it. It's in a lot of stores, posters, and the movie and the books and stuff like that. So I know that he had a big effect here, but it's something that I was extremely aware of in the early 90s when I started to be exposed to anime and had friends that would talk about it. Is that we both Americans love Japanese culture and Japan loves American pop culture.
Yeah.
And I love that about it because it never, to my eyes at least, it never felt like a competition. It just meant like, to me, Japan just did weirder, better, and we did bigger, budget.
bolder.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
Yeah.
could see that. I could see
Yeah.
that. And there, I don't see. I mean, you see a little bit of it here and there in pockets, but you don't see a lot of copying and like straight up copying. I mean, sometimes you do Lion King.
Yeah,
but
Godzilla.
sometimes you do see straight up. But as overall, like American stuff seems very American to me.
Yes.
Japanese stuff seems very Japanese to me, whether it's in manga or film or anime.
Yeah.
It just seems specific to that culture.
And America still hasn't figured out how to make a really great Godzilla movie. Tried, but it never really worked. That's okay. So the book selling stuff, so your YouTube channel was just originally like you reviewing stuff that you loved, which is the most organic way to start a business.
Yeah.
It really is. It's how I started. It's how you started. It's just talking about the things you loved. What I am, most people that know who you are or heard me talk about, like, I know it was a combination. It was Johnny Ryan kind of lit the fuse, and then Ed threw the dynamite. Ed Pisker threw the dynamite, and everything just exploded. What was that first year like for you? Like, were you just kind of crazy busy? Like, how am I going to handle all of this? Because people started buying books from you left and right.
Yeah, because before that, like I worked as at a patent law office, suit and tie salaryman, and I worked there and before that at a bank, and I had a very conservative, let's say, business life, to say the least.
Not
and
anymore.
But then after work, I like to on the weekends, I like to make YouTube videos about the manga I was reading or the art exhibition I went to or something like that, because I was like, this stuff is so. I started getting really passionate about what I was collecting, and I was like, nobody knows about Kano Seisaku. He's amazing. He's this is like James Bond on crack. It's insane. It's sexy and violent, and everyone dies. And I was like, why doesn't anyone know about this guy? So I was making videos on it. But then when I actually started selling books, not just selling them to finding books for friends.
Yeah.
That's how it started out. Just finding books for friends. And they'd send me lists, and I'd find them for them, and I'd mail them out to them and make a few bucks here and there. And but when I actually started selling books, there's a point where I'm working a full-time job, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I think I have 2 full-time jobs.
Yep.
But I love this space. I love this hobby. I love the people in it. Book people are some of the best people out there. Toy people, you're questionable. I'm joking. The book people, though, all of them in my life, at least, very kind people. They really are passionate about what they're into, what they want to buy. Doesn't matter the genre and stuff. So just at some point, I was like, geez, this is a little bit overwhelming, but I don't want to give it up. But at some point, I'm gonna have to give up something because there's only so many hours in the day.
Right.
I mean, we're here at what?
It's 8:45 right now, or almost 9 o'clock.
Yeah. And I'll probably be here until 10:30 tonight, and that's without a regular job, So at some point I just had to give up the full-time job and just go all in, or it was either going to be all in or go back to it being a hobby.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I could go all in.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's what you love. It's what I do what I love, you do what you love, and it shows. I mean, I've been a fan of yours now a couple of years. I've been a customer of yours a couple of years, and I'm like, you've opened my mind up to so much, and that's even before I came here. Now, I'm like, I just got to make sure, and this is a warning to anybody that does this. Don't step on this man's toes. No, but I want to make sure that when I come here that I'm respecting, this thing, but I'm learning so much. And, I when I was in the bookstore today, I was looking at spines. I'm like, I don't know what that says, but I know the little image. I know the publisher. I know the era. I'm starting to recognize eras.
That's
from the
70s,
spine.
80s.
Yeah.
You can kind of get a feel from the design.
Yes. But what I think it is also, I spend as much time in, hunting in comic stores, going to people's houses, looking collections, garage sales and all that. American comics for me now, I don't really even have to look. I know what I'm looking at almost at all times. So it's like a new challenge coming over here, and watching you flourish and seeing this operation with your wife and Brandon and the videos and all the stuff. I've never seen somebody post so much shit on Instagram, But
well, that's our advertising budget. It's
Yeah.
my time and Brandon's time and my wife's time, and yeah, I mean it's the same for me, vice versa. So like, if I walk into a manga shop, a old used bookstore full of like dusty old books and stuff, I can look at the spines and like, no.
Yes.
Like, I know what that is. I know what that is. Wait, what's that? Oh, okay. Like I can figure it out pretty quickly. And then I'm like riding back from Comic-Con with you and Jim Mafun.
Yeah.
And you guys are talking American comics. And I was like, what the hell are you guys talking about? I had no idea. The names and the references and like, oh yeah, he worked for Image and then he hopped over and I'm like, what are you talking about, man? For probably like 10 minutes, I just sat up front like,
yeah,
I don't know what's going on.
It's like when I'm hearing two people talking in Japanese and I can't understand a thing that they're saying. That's me and Jim talking about American comics.
Yeah, American comics. Because again, I've been here for so long that I have like a huge gap.
Yeah.
And we don't get a lot of English stuff here. So like there's just a huge gap in my understanding of like the last, like anyone who's like Jim's era, I had already left.
Yeah.
By the time like, Jim was like heavily producing, I was already gone, man.
Yeah, you were here enough years to have not known anything about that era.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, so I have a lot of like holes in my knowledge of comics overall, but that just like a quick thing I wanted to mention was that's why I watched Cartoonist Kayfabe.
Yeah.
Because Jim and Ed would break down everything about American comics, not just the art and the details and how Zipatone was used or whiteout was used, but also like who was who and who was doing what. And those were great lessons for me because I had this huge gap in understanding of American comics, which I still do, admittedly, but it helped me understand Japanese manga more too.
Yeah, they spotlighted so much stuff and talked about it in a way that your ears are just focused on really what they're talking about. And I learned so much about American comics, like a lot of the stuff that branched off, the indie stuff or stuff that I had just kind of never kept up with, I learned from watching them.
Yeah.
And I just sucked it up like a sponge. I mean, that's really, to get a grip on American comics or to get a grip on manga here, you really just have to be a sponge and listen to people talk about it. You would have appreciated. I pulled a book off the shelf last night. I'm like, oh, that's a weird Ultraman book. It was one of the 3 Umez books.
Oh, nice.
And I was just like, that's why this stuck out to me, because this does not look anything. That cover image does not look anything like a typical Ultraman book.
Yeah, and it really stands out. I mean, there's only a few authors, like I think it's Kawajiri and Kazumine and Ultraman that did like really original Ultraman or Ultraman's Ultra 7 manga, and all the rest is just kind of all the same,
Yeah. And that's, Ultraman's a really good litmus for like comparing it to the US is like Spider-Man. It's been around for decades and decades. So many people have worked and done. There's been movies, there's been cartoons, there's been all this stuff. And yet, there's, a handful of Spider-Man artists that really stick out. It's Todd McFarlane, Steve Ditko, Eric Larson, John Romita, a couple others. And that's, in 60 years of Spider-Man history. Same thing, there's more Batman. Batman, maybe, what can we equate Batman to? Who's another character? I mean, Godzilla. I don't know.
Godzilla.
There's so much Godzilla, there's so much Batman, and everybody has had different visions. Though, Toho, I think, keeps a little bit tighter of no, they don't.
No, because there's also, like, I have right over here, I have a parody manga with some parody Godzilla in it.
Yeah.
Unlicensed,
That's true. That's true. So. And that's another thing. We'll probably, next time I'm here, we'll talk about the independent, the doujinshi, that kind of stuff, because that's another entire universe.
We didn't do it this trip.
Yeah.
But next year, Comedia or Comiket, one of the two, we're going to have to go to. Yeah. I mean, you just kind of have to do it just to understand really how many people here, from the weekend warrior to the 16-year-old kid to the 80-year-old woman are making manga and comics.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
It is.
It's insane.
And it's lovely because it just means that art will continue. And I know that physical media is something you're doing a project talking about physical media. And I think it's never going to die in a place like this. I don't think it can, because there's so many tools readily available to create here, whether it is illustration, whether it is movies, whether it is music. Just down the block on your street, I could buy an entire band's worth of musical instrument. Across the street, I can buy manga paper at 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
And I can create whatever I want.
Yeah, and you can walk up the road, buy some used manga, some art books, maybe a how to draw guide.
Name 2 to 4 places in the United States that you could do that without having a car. And I don't know if you could.
Yeah, you could, if you really wanted to, and you had the time, you could walk around this neighborhood and within the next, couple months, make a manga.
Yes. And an adjacent soundtrack to it, as well as maybe a short film about it.
And you might also have a nice entree to go with it. Yeah. Somebody out there do that.
All right. That's the challenge. So before we get going, obviously we've got, we'll plug this stuff at the end, but how about this? 2 books or 2 manga or creators that would be helpful to get somebody into not just reading, but would be a fun entry to collecting.
A fun entry to collecting. Well, because of my horror background in horror manga, I'm going to have to not say Umes, but say Hino Hideshi. Hideshi Hino, he's not in a good place right now, but he's the godfather of body horror. And his stuff is available in America. I know that my friend Matt at Starfruit Books, he was putting out Hino Hideshi in English. So I know there's some Hino Hideshi out there available in English. So I would definitely recommend that as an entryway into horror, because everyone knows Junji Ito and Umes, but they don't know some of the more underground stuff. And if you get into the Hino Hideshi stuff, then you'll start going adjacent. Yes. Because it'll drag you. It'll just drag your dirty corpse over to find more amazing horror stuff. And something else to get in. I mean, a lot of people would probably say Ikegami Ryoichi, because Ikegami Ryoichi did Lone Wolf and Cub, of course, but he also did tons of samurai manga. He did spy manga. He did action manga. He did some pretty sexy stuff too, and he even did early Kashihon rental manga that was just romantic samurai stories from the Edo period. So if you got into Ikegami Ryoichi, and you really got into him, there's just a wealth of stuff out there, and from each branch, each genre that he worked in, whether it was for Garo or whether it was for Hibari when they were doing the Kashihon era stuff, then you're going, or Lone Wolf and Cub, then it's going to drag you down another rabbit hole that you'll never get out of. So those are my 2 recommendations.
Well, that's awesome, because that's exactly what I think makes collecting fun, is when you explore sideways, when you go and find something and then branch off and look for the other things. It's how I love music.
Yeah, I always tell people is, what's your favorite genre? Okay, then get into that genre and try to find someone in that genre that you've never read before or you never heard of before, but you look at it, and if it looks like something you might like, try it out. That's it. Just try it out.
It's the best way to do it. Well, Shawn, we're going to do this again, but I'm very happy we got to do this, and thank you also for being such a gracious host and putting up with some bullshit on my part.
It's always fun. Every year. There's always a little bullshit.
Yeah,
it's chaos. It's chaos.
It is.
Comic-Con, Tokyo.
I get so excited too.
There's so
You're
much
busy.
stuff.
I'm excited. I just I need more. So, where tell them where they can find you.
JapanBookHunter.com is where we sell our weird, rare, and wild books, and Japan Book Hunter on Instagram, YouTube. We have a Patreon, Japan Book Hunter, $5 a month. You get a bunch of exclusive videos, early access to our big drops. So everyone on Patreon cherry picks our drops.
That's right.
When I do something I go to the Ghost in the Shell exhibition, I pick up a whole bunch of stuff. Everyone on Patreon gets that first.
Yes, they do.
Everyone else gets whatever's left over.
Sloppy seconds.
Yeah, sloppy seconds, man. And then if you don't like Patreon, we do have a YouTube members only club where I post videos as well. And
Yeah, and everybody knows, they can find you also on West Coast Avengers pretty much once every couple of months.
Yep.
I'm on Japan Book Hunter YouTube at least once a year in a bunch of videos.
Yep.
So that's always going to happen. And, thanks for watching, and check this guy's stuff out. And remember, if you buy something that I want, he's actually going to sell it to you and then tell me that he sold it to you.
I'm gonna find that Jaws manga, man. I'm gonna find that Jaws.
We're fucking done.